All right, good afternoon, everybody. If we could please take our seats. I see we have it looks like a church service here. Everybody's here in the back pew. If you want to move your way forward, you're welcome to do so. Good afternoon. My name is Grayson Arties. I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Director for the Oklahoma Department of Aerospace and Aeronautics. And we're here today for a momentous occasion for the releasing of something we've been working on for a very long time. And as you know, this is our state's second largest industry, aerospace and aviation. And we are extremely excited to have participated in this project, which you're going to hear about today over the next 30 minutes. I want to say a couple of thank yous, first and foremost, to our Advanced Mobility Council that worked so diligently on developing this plan. And thank you to ODOT's Autonomous Vehicle Working Group, ODAA's Emerging Aviation Technology Subcommittee. We spent many an hour, many a day, many a week coming up and strategically engaging with folks from all around the state of Oklahoma, industry members, educators, researchers, policymakers, and anybody that had an interest in advanced mobility. You can see from the lineup of speakers today, we have a good cross-cutting section from the entirety of the mobility sector within the state of Oklahoma. And the next gentleman that I want to introduce, he is probably one of the biggest cheerleaders, one of the biggest advocates for mobility, for aviation, aerospace, and defense that the state of Oklahoma has ever seen. And he's here today to make the announcement of what we're releasing. And I want to bring to the stage, let's put our hands together for Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell.
Well, thank you, Grayson. Welcome to the People's House. Welcome to our state capitol, renovated state capitol now for a few years. But, just look up. Everybody just stop for a second and look up. That deserves a round of applause right there. Arguably one of the most beautiful state capitals in the entire country now, thanks to our legislature and the commitment that they made to fix this place up over the last few years. And it's just a pride point for me every time I get to walk around this beautiful state capitol. And yes, as Grayson said, I am certainly very excited today to share with you the vision and the mission and the goal of this project that, again, is 18 months in the making, but frankly, many, many years in the making. As someone who, yes, goes around 49 other states and countries around the world and tells people that Oklahoma is the best place, truly the best place in the country, best place in the world today to live, work, and raise a family. That doesn't continue without prioritizing our aerospace industry, aviation, flight, and the future of flight. For Oklahoman, for Oklahoma kids, your grandkids to be able to find a job inside the state of Oklahoma into the future, many of those jobs are going to be in this industry that we are talking about today. And we have to have a strategic planning process to plan for that future. And that is what we're here to talk about today. The vision is to improve the economic opportunity and quality of life for all Oklahomans. As Grayson said, it's the number 2 industry in the state of Oklahoma, but the fastest growing industry, which I think, again, over the next decade could become the number 1 industry in the state, again, when it comes to flight and the future of flight. The goal is to leverage advanced mobility technologies to improve efficiency, safety, resilience, access, and economic opportunity in Oklahoma as well. Again, we can't be looking at just the future of an industry 1 year from now, 2 years from now, a decade from now. No, this is a plan for 2045 and beyond. The kids that are sitting in middle schools today, many of the jobs that they will have in less than 10 years don't even exist yet. Think about that. And I can't thank, again, this team enough for thinking that way as well and thinking that far into the future. The goal, again, to leverage advanced mobility technologies in this efficiency, safety, resilient space. Aerospace and defense is our state's, as I said, second largest industry. It employs today over 206,000 individuals and has a $44 billion economic impact today. So when we talk about advanced mobility, A lot of that $44 billion economic impact, a lot of what we were talking about with this advanced mobility space, just think about what that $44 billion economic impact is going to be a decade from now. And in 2024, over $5 billion increase when it comes to that type of growth. It's important we prioritize advanced mobility technology to continue this industry's growth, as I said. The advanced mobility strategy marks a big step forward for Oklahoma's aerospace industry. Oklahoma City a few years ago rebranded itself as the modern frontier. It was a one-day headline, but for someone like me who's trying to rebrand the state of Oklahoma and project Oklahoma again as the best state to live, work, and raise a family, we have to be that modern frontier. We got to be thinking faster and further ahead than other states around us. And if we're going to be the modern frontier, we have to prioritize, again, advanced mobility strategy for us truly to be that modern frontier, not just in the 20th largest city in America today, because that's where you are right now in Oklahoma City, but across our 77 counties. And with that, again, thank you for everybody that was here, that's here this evening, this afternoon. I'm now going to introduce Jared Schwinesen. Jared, did I pronounce that right? I was close enough. Jared, get up here. Jared with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation that does so much for us. Ladies and gentlemen, Jared Schwinesen.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. And there was one other partner we forgot to say thank you to earlier. H&TB did a wonderful job keeping us on track and moving this strategic plan forward. So thank you so much for the efforts you did there. This plan is really about, and my role in it was to actually bring air and ground together a little bit just so we could talk. A lot of what I do is bring the intersection of different modes of transportation together to work in harmony as we move forward. As the future builds, obviously technology is going to come forward, and as former Secretary Mike Patterson used to say, how am I going to drive with my 69 Mustang next to a car that's autonomous? How are those going to work together? And this plan helps make sure that we're competitive in the future to ensure a safe transition into that future. Once again, thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to bring up Representative Nicole Miller. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for being here today. It is an exciting day when we are releasing this strategic plan that shows our 20-year vision of investment in state advanced air mobility. One of the unique things about this plan that I think is of special note is if we look at the blending of the funding on it that it lays forth for us, of public, local, and private funding. And that perspective is very important so that it is a all-the-above type approach going forward. So over the next 20 years, we are looking at a total of $194 million in the advanced air mobility and UAS investment, particularly in the infrastructure piece. So we can have our flying assets, but you have to have that ground-based system, radar system and such, to actually make it happen and make it a full system, a comprehensive system. So what we're looking at doing with that, the roadmap lays out for us, centralized command support system for $67 million, and then our vertiport development and radar, we're looking at putting $127 million into that. Now what's very interesting is, guess what? Oklahoma is ahead of the power curve already, and we have already made some investments in that. So we're going to use our current investments that we've done as a launching pad to where we want to go. We've already put $5 million through the PREP fund down into the statewide radar system to start developing drone corridors and things like that. And then we've also, the last two budget cycles, we put $2 million down into the Oklahoma Department of Aerospace and Aeronautics for our UAS AAM infrastructure. So looking forward to all that we're going to do together as a state, and the net economic benefit of $8.2 billion. Thank you so much. And I am introducing Senator John Haste.
Well, good afternoon. It is obviously great to be here and announcing a strategy, because you have to start with the strategy, and then from there we get into some of the details. And some of those include, we want to keep Oklahoma competitive in the autonomous vehicle sector for testing and implementation. Now, we already have passed legislation to allow autonomous vehicles on the road, so this is critical to the success of the program. but it also means we want to provide for a safe testing environment for both industry and also the traveling public. Autonomous, though, as we look at it, we're talking about cars, we're talking about trucks, but we're also looking in the air. I just visited a Boeing factory where the new MQ-25, which is the new refueling plane for the U.S. Navy, is being built to be delivered in 2027, and this is autonomous. The pilot's going to stay on the aircraft carrier while this plane is out refueling F-18s. But we also want to look at ensure federal funding for alternative fuel is spent here in Oklahoma. When you look at us, obviously oil and gas, we do a great job there. We've also done a good job related to electric. But other options are out there, and we're an all of the above type state when it relates to fuel and our utilities and so forth. But other options include CNG, hydrogen, sustainable aviation fuel. And then another item that's not talked about that much, but is new types of fuel for rockets. And when you look at a lot of the rocket launching space has already been taken up with SpaceX and others, that means there's additional opportunity for Burns Flat, where we can launch rockets there. And with that, new fuel is being tested so that it doesn't explode on impact, which makes Burns Flat even that much more attractive related to launching rockets. So we have a lot of opportunity. We've got a lot of preparation already happened, but a lot of work that will take place going forward. And so next, I want to move on, and I want to bring up my friend, Senator Paul Rosino.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. This is always the most exciting thing I get to do is talk about aerospace and aviation. And I've said this many times. I actually said to my good friend, Senator Pugh, one of the things when I got elected, my goal was to make aerospace and aviation the #1 industry in the state of Oklahoma. And with the help of Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, John Haste, Adam Pugh, Nicole Miller, Preston Stinson, we are on our way. But we don't get there without you. We don't get there without you guys, without your companies, without hiring people, and without investing in Oklahoma, so thank you. And I'm going to touch a little bit on advanced mobility and what we're doing in our military. We are leading the way in the world in military exploration and advanced mobility, and we're seeing how dangerous it can be if we don't have counter missions and we don't do our own missions. We're seeing it happen right now in the Middle East and what's happening to Israel and what Hamas is doing with air mobility. So we have to continue to explore Fort Sill. Camp Gruber, our National Guard now, is getting into UAS, which myself and Senator Pugh are now going to get involved with trying to help our National Guard explore what they can be doing in air mobility. And of course, the largest materiel command in the world, Tinker Air Force Base, is now pushing very hard to get MRO and to work on air mobility in the state of Oklahoma. So to Lieutenant Governor's point, if we don't keep investing and we don't keep talking about it and we don't keep bringing jobs and we don't keep our education process going, we fall behind. We cannot let off the gas. We got to continue to push those throttles forward and continue to rise. So thank you all for being here. Thank you again for what you do, and thank you so much for investing in Oklahoma. At this time, I'd like to present Dr. Jamie Jacobs.
Thank you. It's very exciting to be here. I moved back home to Oklahoma almost 20 years ago with an express intent to set up an advanced air mobility program at that time. And it's fantastic that we're here in this fabulous space to finally see this come to fruition. 15 years ago, when my partner in crime and I, James Grimsley, had a meeting in Guthrie with fellow UAS enthusiasts, we expected 20 people to attend, and instead we had 120. And since then, this industry has just grown with the enthusiasm and excitement that we see here in Oklahoma, utilizing our natural assets that we have in the state. Many times we'd get the question when we go to national events about, well, why is Oklahoma doing this and why are they in the lead? Now, I always look at the group of folks in this room like this and say, well, we have the ability to come together, collaborate, and never think too small. Why not us? Why can't we be the ones doing this? With our natural assets, our ability to work across lines with federal, state, municipal support, working with universities, small business, and big business, we've really been able to move the needle and make Oklahoma the place to be for aerospace, in particular for advanced air mobility and uncrewed aircraft systems. Very exciting to see where we go in the future. With our recent developments for OAIR, the Oklahoma Aerospace Institute for Research and Education, underneath the Innovation Foundation, expressly set up to help support innovation within the state in this particular industry and make sure that aerospace is #1 here in Oklahoma. Supporting the Oklahoma National Guard, their mission at UAS, both at home and abroad, Fort Sill with a joint counter-UAS university, the unique asset for all DoD personnel to be trained here in the state of Oklahoma, and making sure that we retain that expertise here in the state. Development of the Launchpad Center within Tulsa to be able to support entrepreneur and innovation within this arena. And then most recently, the Theta Initiative, making Tulsa the tech hub for advanced air mobility, not just within this region, but within the country. Finally, our flight test assets. One of the great things about Oklahoma is our ability to fly throughout most of the year, utilizing the unique assets such as the Choctaw Nation FAA Beyond program, Skyway 36, and now the Skyway Range, which will ensure that we're going to be able to retain this expertise and capability for years to come, and ensure that Oklahoma leads within this really critical industry, not just for the United States, but for the entire world. And next up, I'd like to introduce one of my favorite people, Jen Hankins from the Tulsa Innovation Laboratory, who's really been able to move the needle and make sure that we retain leadership within this industry.
He's never called me his favorite person. This is so special. Hello, I'm Jennifer Hankins. I'm the managing director at Tulsa Innovation Labs. We are a tech-led economic development organization pioneered by the George Kaiser Family Foundation that is working tirelessly to establish our region as a leader in advanced industries. One of those, of course, being advanced mobility. I'm honored to be here today. I know it's been a 2-year journey for us here as a state, but really excited to unveil the state strategy for this critical industry. TIL, alongside the state and so many of you in this room, have been working tirelessly to lay a foundation towards a new paradigm of economic development that more closely roots our state economy and roots it in innovation and new and exciting technology. In Tulsa and across the state, but I'm here to brag a little bit about what we've been up to. We've experienced enormous success, especially in the last 24 months. We have been able to draw down nearly $90 million in federal investments to grow our region's capabilities in this industries. First in the Build Back Better, thank you. First with the Build Back Better Regional Challenge in 2022, and just announced this summer that Dr. Jacob mentioned a Tech Hubs designation that was $51.7 million, which one of the largest awards that the U.S. Department of Commerce gave in the country for implementation. These awards position us, the people in this room, not just the Tulsa region, at the cornerstone of U.S. economic competitiveness and national security, and we are investing significantly in workforce development, supporting small and mid-sized manufacturing, and expanding our ability to attract new businesses with critical infrastructure investments. We're also unlocking Oklahoma assets. You've heard about those all day. Unique public-private partnerships that are generational commitments to the future of our economy in these critical industries, the lifeblood of our economy in aerospace and advanced manufacturing. Our future, I think, is really, really bright, and this report and today signifies that we can't stop now. We're grateful to our partnership with the director and ODAA and ODOT for partnering with everybody in this room, and we look forward to working with you across this state to make us a global leader in the advanced mobility industry. Thank you all again for having me today, and I would like to welcome Mr. Tom Robbins up to the stage.
I've had the pleasure to serve as the facilitator for Oklahoma's Autonomous Vehicle Working Group. and also as the founder and president of Oklahoma Work Zone Safe, which is leading the nation and helping teen drivers understand their role being work zone and move over safe for our first responders. But those two roles pale in comparison to the fact that I'm a dad and I have 3 boys, and one of those boys, my oldest, turned 16 just this last Saturday, and he had a lot of enthusiasm, and if you're a parent, you share in that enthusiasm when they turn 16, but a little bit of a shiver runs down your spine because you know the first thing they said is, "Dad, can I get my keys?" And in doing so, what I wanted to just talk about is safety is a driving force. It is the #1 focus of the Oklahoma Department of Transportation and our aeronautics, and it always should and needs to be. But unfortunately, we live in a time and an era where our fatalities and our crashes have increased over the last 2 years nationwide, and unfortunately, our pedestrian fatalities has done so as well. So we need innovative solutions, and Oklahoma has really been an incubator for that provides the tools, resources, and training that embraces what autonomous vehicle technology represents, whether it's our trucking and what we passed here in model legislation, or whether it's just the tools and resources, how we educate and train our teens, and also how we keep those first responders and contractors safe on the road, like what ODOT's doing with some of our autonomous vehicles that are being deployed out in the work zone so that we're keeping those work crews protected and safe. To address this public health crisis, we'll need everybody rowing in the same boat. And we're going to welcome the Olympics in the rowing event. And today we're opening up and we're going to be welcoming, I think, one of the best models for bringing those two pieces together of both our aerospace and our ground transportation. So safety remains the #1 priority. By adopting this proposal and plan, we're meeting that responsibility. And I look forward to not just my oldest son, but I got 2 others coming right behind him that'll be able to enjoy transportation in all of its forms in a more safer environment because of the work that's being done here today. And we'll have the ability to have jobs and opportunity right here in Oklahoma, as been stated, because of some of the technology, training, and workforce that's being provided in this plan and being supported by so many partners and companies. So thank you. And with that, I will introduce, I'm going to turn my phone back on here, sorry. I'll introduce our FAA Advanced Mobility, Kevin O'Connor, Deputy Director of our Mike Mulroney Aeronautical Center right here in Oklahoma City.
Thank you, Tom. Good afternoon, everyone. What an exciting event and an exciting day for the state of Oklahoma. When I worked for the Air Force, I had a general that used to say, nothing good happens without first great strategy. And so it's an honor to be here, part of this overall team of leaders from across the state to develop a strategy or to unveil a strategy for advancing mobility here in the state of Oklahoma. Specific to aerospace, Oklahoma is incredibly fortunate to have the Federal Aviation Administration right here in central Oklahoma, in Oklahoma City. The FAA's Mike Mulroney Aeronautical Center plays a critical role every day in sustaining our national airspace system. And moving forward, we play a critical role with integrating into the national airspace system these new advanced air mobility operations. In this past year, the FAA received $6 million in congressional appropriations for the development of an advanced air mobility vertiport capability at the Mike Mulroney Aeronautical Center. So we worked closely with one of our most valued partners, NASA. A lot of folks don't realize that we have NASA employees working side by side with our FAA employees at the Aeronautical Center to accelerate these emerging aviation technologies. So together we developed a concept for an eVTOL procedure and analysis range at the Mike Mulroney Aeronautical Center. And this range will assist the FAA in developing, demonstrating, and validating the technologies and procedures that will enable the safe integration of advanced air mobility into the national airspace system. Design work is already underway. It's going to start out with a hangar, an apron, a charging station, and a vertipad. And it's already gaining a lot of attention from across the industry from eVTOL manufacturers that want to collaborate with us as we move forward. Our success at the Aeronautical Center has always been the result of our great partnership with state and federal agencies, our local academic institutions, our local tribal nations, and our industry partners. And as we look forward to these continued partnerships as we work together to ensure that the Mike Monroney Aeronautical Center is part of the incredible network of aerospace infrastructure and aerospace expertise across the state of Oklahoma, and really across the broader nation to move advanced mobility forward. Thank you, and it is now my pleasure to invite Senator Adam Pugh, who needs no real introduction, to the stage. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for being at your capital today. Come back with me on a journey to 4200 BC. We're in Mesopotamia, and the first wheel has just been invented. And it transformed the way people were able to move around their homeland. Just over 5,000 years later, in 1885, the Benz patent motor wagon was first produced. 18 years later, on the beaches of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, the Wright brothers put an airplane into the air for the very first time for just a few seconds. What originally took thousands of years to modernize the way people moved themselves and goods and services, now in less than a century from our first flight, our first space flight, we are able, with a drone, to put steel on target in defense of our national security interests, to move goods and services around the globe, unmanned, and we're on the cusp of the safest, most efficient, and most effective manner for unmanned autonomous vehicle travel for humans to be able to move from destination to destination. Oklahoma will not get caught thinking about our past. We have a rich aviation and aerospace history, but we will continue to be forward-thinking and not become the Kodak of aerospace and aviation as we think about what the future of aviation and aerospace will be for the state of Oklahoma. I always get excited when my Navy friends talk about airplanes, so thank you, Paul, for doing that. I share my friend Senator Racino and Senator Hayes and Lieutenant Governor Pennell's goal of making sure that Oklahoma is leading not only the nation, but leading the world in aviation and aerospace development. And we are so close to being the #1 industry in the state of Oklahoma and the #1 state in the country. If you are looking to relocate or do business in this industry, we want Oklahoma to be the very first place that you consider. So thank you all for being a significant part of that. I have only 2 very important things that I need to accomplish while I'm up here. Number 1, I was asked to point out that on your chair is some information about the strategy that we've talked about today. And if you scan that QR code, that will take you to the ODA's website and the strategy, where you can see firsthand how you can be involved in developing the future of aerospace and aviation here in the state of Oklahoma. As well, and probably most importantly from Director Arty's perspective, there is cake and refreshments in the back here. So on the north side of the rotunda, please afterwards feel free to stay and mingle with our industry partners and our government leaders who've made today happen. Thank you all again for being part of what I think is the best industry in the state of Oklahoma. Thank you all for your commitment to making sure that Oklahoma isn't caught looking to our past, but we are visionary and forward-thinking to make sure that we are investing in a workforce and in an economy that's going to be prepared to handle whatever technology brings to this industry. Thank you all very much for being here, and we are dismissed.